Kagi, may I please have lead? Por favor. Por favor.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Don't actually do it. Alright, so hard mode, Temple of Sacrifice. This really does kind of up the ante. As we were talking a little bit earlier, you can't really brute force hard mode Revan. The 4 or 5, absolutely. Phase have been reset. Underlurker and Walkers still have a little bit of mechanics that really can't be brute forced. Cross can't be brute forced. Walkers is just a tight DPS check. But if you don't have somebody, like if you have too many people tunneling, you know, that can mess things up. So there's a little bit of mechanics that can, you know, not necessarily be ignored, which all will change when 6.0 drops next week. So do just keep that in mind. But Revan is one of the few fights in Star Wars The Old Republic that cannot be and has not been able to be brute force because Revan is such a mechanic heavy fight. People tend to forget that. So, but, alright, let's clear trash.
I'm respecting, so I'm not
No
inside
worries.
yet, but
No
clear
worries.
trash.
No worries. Can you grab up the ads?
Yep.
I love this
I'm respecting the
lightsaber.
tank.
You can DPS for Revan if you want, honestly.
I'll DPS the Underlurker and Revan.
Okay, sounds good. Let's go ahead and start clearing trash. So this is the
Even
green
though I'm
lightsaber.
gonna important thing, I'm gonna be DPSing Revan. I'll be doing the normal tanking job. I will be doing the actual tanking job, and usually if groups have a tank, like have a DPS, like doing the tank job, they do a different strat, but I'll just do the normal one.
Yeah, just do the normal one.
It's just a little bit different. It's not like a different pattern or anything, it's just the amount of time the DPS itself will be taking the boss.
Correct.
And you also get all the trails, right? So I can hold.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're gonna be doing normal.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like during that strat, because I've only done that one once.
So people
So,
hate Tosh trash because they are so very tanky. The trash in this instance are just so tanky. I don't know why. Matt, why?
Could be worse.
True.
Well, I mean,
It could
they
be
are
God.
Masasi. They're not supposed to go.
God's
down
trash
for
is not that
fight.
bad.
the stalkers or the reapers on the new op.
Oh yeah, the Reapers and Duxit. Yeah.
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 Don't tell me yet.
No worries. So there really isn't much. So we're going to talk a little bit about Malaphar while we're getting there. There's not a whole lot of difference between hard mode and story mode. However, the biggest thing to remember is you have to make sure to clear your stacks because you will kill yourself.
Caps 25, by the way.
It caps at 25, but you still want to make sure that you're clearing your stacks. Usually, depending on how your healers are doing, depending on how much your punishment you can take. If you're progging Temple of Sacrifice, I would say clear your stacks at about 7.
5.
Yeah.
5, 7. Before 10.
Yeah, before 10 for sure.
It's been a while since I've done TOS.
Yeah.
There's also 2 ways to tank this. Either there's a tank swap whenever ads come out, or to make it easier on the healers, one tank always takes the ads. So basically, the tanks clear their stacks twice as often, which basically means one tank holds the boss, the other tank takes over, then they swap when the ads come out, then they swap again, then the ad tank gets the next set of ads while the first tank grabs Malaphar. That's the strat we're going to be doing, but you can also just hold the boss and just swap on ads. It does mean higher stacks though, so
Yeah. So you'll just
easier on everyone.
if you're progging, if you're going into Temple of Sacrifice for the first time, you're your tanks will need to be swapping as well. Everyone will need to be clearing their stacks, especially if your healers are new or if your healers are struggling to keep up for one reason or another. Maybe you're too squishy. Maybe they're not familiar with the class. It doesn't matter. You want to just make sure that you clear your stacks between no more than 10. And then same thing with the red circle. You want to make sure that the red circle goes onto the ads and not into the group. With stacks, it can kill your group that way. 40 stacks or bust. So other than that, there's really no big change from story mode to hard mode when it comes to Malaphar. By the way, Malaphar is supposed to be the, quote, mother of all Masasi. So all of Masasi on Yavin 4 are from this Chiki. Kagi Wagi, you ready, hun?
Yes, ma'am.
You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Alright, on
I'm
tanks.
pulling.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep in here and not moving.
I'll just pull them in.
You can just keep in here, it's not gonna matter. It's better if you keep in on one spot, because it's annoying for the DPS if you move the bar.
Yeah, that is a good point. So, some people will tank by the wall. Other than that, just try, do want to make sure that your tanks try and keep Malaphar in one position, really. As much as you can. Toss hard mode, indeed.
Got him.
So I have 6 stacks. I'm doing okay. I'm going to be clearing my stacks here in just a moment. So the red circle is on Kagi Wagi. Theron, what are you yelling about? So I have 9 stacks right now. Sniper needs to watch stacks, right? I know. So I'm going to go ahead and clear my stacks now. So you just have to sit outside of the circle for just whatever. Then you'll get a new ability or a new buff, and you can hop right back in. Theron, stop yelling at me. Out. They do also have a cleave. Just so I have the circle. You're gonna get what looks to be.
The circle damages the ads, by the way.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
you want to bring the red circle to the ads to be able to damage the ads. I don't know why Theron and Lana are all like, oh no.
Because they're afraid we're gonna get hit.
Ah, fair enough.
They have no faith in us.
Clearly.
Okay.
So I'm gonna jump out, collect my stacks, jump back in. If you haven't burned raid buffs, now would be a good time to burn.
Got him.
You can use raid buffs either at the beginning or at the end. It doesn't matter.
Impressive. Truly impressive.
Better get moving. Guarantee you Revan isn't taking his sweet time in there.
Gosh, Theron is so needy in Temple of Sacrifice, I swear. He's so needy.
Is he ever not needy?
Okay, Theron is Bay though, so, like, don't even. Alright, let's talk walkers. While we're gonna go over to the walkers, I would love to hear tanks. Talk to me a little bit about tanking the walkers. Talk to me about tank swaps,
so-
bombs, all that good jazz.
So there's technically 2 methods of tanking the walkers. There's either one
Three,
where
actually.
tanks walk. 3? Well, the 2 main ones I know. The first, technically, like, proper way is when, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself, so, when Walker 2 swaps to the other tank, the tank on Walker 1 just basically jumps to Walker 2, and the tank that's been tanking Walker 2 becomes the tank for Walker 1, and they swap like that. The method we are going to do is keep the tanks, like, I'm going to keep tanking Walker 1 the entire time, and Jaden's is just going to call it out. You don't have to, but normally you have the other tank call it out, especially when you're still progging, to say, hey, Walker 2 is on you as well, and then you pop some cooldowns, and you keep tanking both of them for a little while. to let the tank on Walker 2 do their thing and not have to worry about swapping. What's the third method?
Okay, the third method is that you're gonna, cause usually you have like a, you're gonna need a DPS running the bombs, cause usually the tank on the unit 2 is the one that should run the bombs. But the third method is for when if you are bored and if you like, you have only one tank. You start in unit 2 and you taunt unit 1 on cooldown and tank both.
Oh my.
Oh,
I've done that before on hard mode.
I
It's so
kind
much
of want to
fun.
try solo tanking the walkers now.
We're not
Damn
gonna
it!
do that. Maybe another time.
I
I
know.
remember I started doing that in story mode in 3.0 because no one wanted to tank. Like it was hard to find a tank for group fighter, and then I said, "Screw it! I'm just gonna solo tank." And then I just applied the same thing I learned from story mode and hard mode, and it worked.
That's
Nice.
amazing.
Okay, so a more in-depth version for tanking. Walker 2, the guy on the right, you can't taunt him. He is untauntable.
Fine. I only
And
10 credits.
so basically that's the tank that starts the fight, is the tank on Walker 2, so they can get as much aggro as possible. I'm talking learning perspectives, obviously. And they just have to worry about getting out of stupid and things like that. As I mentioned, he's going to swap over to the tank on Walker 1, which I believe is because of the targeting droid.
Correct.
Targeting droid's going to make Walker 2 target the tank on Walker 1. And also the tank on Walker 2 is usually the one that runs the bombs we talked about earlier. As far as Walker 1 goes, he has a few attacks that the tank needs to know about. The first one is the channel he does that leaves blue circles. And so that one you just have to kite it, and I usually just do kind of a little oblong pattern around the tank to not line of sight the healers, or outrange the healers, I should say. The other one is his Mega Blast from the cannon, which you just need to pop something for. And the third one, I believe, is actually from Walker 2. He drops the red circle on you. So that's one of the things you have to worry about with Walker 2. Walker 2 also does shoots you, things like that, just basic damage that you have to pop a cooldown for when you're holding both of them. And obviously Walker 1 also does, normal basic damage that keeps hitting you. Walker 1 does get a shield on him where he becomes immune to damage. So the tank on Walker 2 has to grab these bombs, which the whole canister does not light up. It's only the little panel that lights up, which is kind of small. So you have to kind of watch out for that. I remember the first time I was asked to grab bombs, I thought they weren't lighting up for me because they were so small. And they have to run under Walker 1, and basically when they're on the bottom, like right under his butt,
There's
I don't
gonna
want
be
to go all the way.
targeting critical.
Yeah, you basically do the whole Luke Skywalker thing. You do an EC where you get pulled up and the bomb explodes. And the shield goes down, he stops being all gold and shiny, and people can do damage on him. Basically, the other thing the tank has to worry about is the timing of the channel that you have to kite around him, right here. Because there's going to be gravity, which I'm sure Vass is going to go over in a second. And that channel negates you getting pulled into the gravity well. So if you're kiting that, those circles, you do not get pulled in by gravity. So you don't have to worry about basically putting all that on the group. However, if gravity starts right before, you might have a problem. Which has happened to me, I think, like once, where it's like the first circle was just after gravity, and you're just like, oh, well then. Yeah, also, due to gravity, everyone has to kind of pick their spots, so usually the tanks get the 2 prime positions on either side of the walkers where the tank markers are. And the DPS kind of adjust to that because we can't really outrange the tanks too much. I mean, the walkers too much. And just everyone else kind of goes in a starburst pattern away from it.
I'll be
And
talking about that in a
yeah.
little
so I'm not going to go too much into that.
bit. Yeah, don't go into that.
So yeah. Also, as far as bombs go, the bomb tank does have to keep an eye on Unit 1's health because we do not want it to die before Unit 2 does. So usually the last bomb should have it around 10%. Can be less, can be more, but you want it as close to 0 without being worryingly at 0. I've had it where it was like 1%, not gonna lie. That was like, oh, please stop the dots. So you have to keep an eye on that so that we don't push it too fast. And then we just kind of then we start burning down Unit 2 and then go and finish off Unit 1. So yeah. Kind of it for the tanking, I think.
Awesome. Thank you
Probably
so very
forget.
much. So yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the additional mechanics that we went over. So same mechanics from story mode and hard mode show up. You're going to get those big white circles. You're going to get the red circles underneath the ground. The newest mechanic is now going to be called Gravity Vortex. Swag and Med Mom, thank you so very much for the raid. Welcome, everyone. So, Gravity Vortex, there's going to be a huge pillar that launches from one of the tanks, one of the walkers, into the middle of the group. Hello, everyone. When that happens, everyone is going to get sucked into the middle, and there's going to have small circles underneath the player's feet. That's going to grow larger and larger. As Elsa was talking about earlier, the group is going to need to spread apart. You don't want to be in anybody else's purple circles. So like I'll have a DPS go here, a DPS go here, I'd have a healer go here, and then mirror that on the other side. Thank you very much, Chibi. So that's Gravity Vortex, and that happens, I believe, every 30 to 45 seconds during the course of the fight. So there is also a chance that the red circles, the missile launchers, will show up at the same time as Gravity Vortex, so you do just need to be aware if that happens. Just get out as fast as you can. Try not to overlap any of your other raiders as well. I think that's the biggest increase. I see a lot of people dying to that mechanic. The white circles can be negated with the stun on the white circles can be negated with Hydro overrides or hold the line, entrench, hunker down, Sorks or SOL. Jugs, I think Kagi. Now, tell me if I'm wrong. You can mad dash him, right? Kagi, you there? Hello, Kagi.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you mad dash the stun on the white circles and walkers?
Yes, you should be able to.
All right. So while we're talking a little bit about melee DPS, Crane and Kagi, talk to me about being a melee DPS here on the walkers.
It is such a fun fight to be melee DPS on this fight. And by it is a lot of fun, it's really not. The big thing is to focus your DPS on Unit 1 and knowing when you need to switch to Unit 2 and make sure you're not stacking on the other DPS. AoE damage reduction when you can, because there's a lot of AoE damage going out there for Jug.
Crane, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, and this is more like a DPS thing in general. It's just that when people are starting out, I see a lot of DPS not swapping at all. So like the shield will go in Unit 1, and they'll just keep hammering at it, and then at the end they're wondering why they enraged. And so at least for me as a melee, like I tend to swap off. Not even just like as it's getting close. Like I'll be like, oh, instead of refreshing my dots on a thing that's gonna have its shield up, I just go to the walker too, because usually it's not a big deal. Apart from that, it's mostly just watching out for floor candy and really getting out of everybody's way. Never standing in the middle, to drop a circle right in the middle where everybody's gonna pull it. It's mostly just making sure you stay out of people's way and just DPSing the right thing at the right time.
Thank you very much, Crane. Kagi, do you have anything you'd like to add about being a ranged DPS here on walkers?
No,
Totally a
I think
ranged
we got it all.
I would say ranged having a lot
if you're
easier.
playing range, you're still not playing a Jug, so you're not playing it.
It's okay to be wrong, Kagi. It's okay.
One thing for DPS though, when you're on Walker 2, since Unit 2 can't be taunted, you do kind of want to keep half an eye on your target of target just in case it isn't the tank, because that's where all the circles and other fun things are going to happen. So it is a good thing to kind of keep half an eye on as a DPS just to see who Walker 2 is on while you're on him as well.
All right, and then last but certainly not least, Tom and Wonder talk to me a little bit about healing walkers here in hard mode Temple of Sacrifice.
Hi, welcome to Whose Tank is Yours, and your health doesn't matter anyways. So, pretty much the healers divide the room in half. One healer is over here making sure that healer stays alive. One healer's over there making sure the other tank's safe. And we heal whoever we can save. That's pretty much
pretty much just it. Okay, so as Tom was saying, healers are going to divide the room in half, so they're basically going to be assigned tanks to keep an eye on. They also will get pulled into. That's a really good Wonder. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was healing this in hard mode, I will like to throw revivifications where the gravity vortex is right before it goes down. I don't know if that's still applicable anymore. I haven't healed hard mode Revan in a very long time, or hard mode walkers in a long time. So talk to me a little bit about being a sword healer here.
Yeah, so in general, like you said, when you all get pulled in, that's a great time for a reviv in the middle of the group, because it'll hit basically everyone, and you'll get a lot of like efficiency from that. Also, you'll get a lot of use of your static barriers here, so just try to keep them up on as many people as you can.
If you put a static barrier on me, I will be very unhappy. Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and pulse. I do see a lot of groups wiping here to walkers. Damage output, not paying attention to the walker's health, as Crane talked about a little bit earlier. So
On Jaden?
hopefully we'll be able to work this out. You can pop ray buffs here or at the end. It doesn't really matter. So I'm gonna, as a ranged DPS, I'm gonna kind of stand towards the back here. Kind of give the melee some room. Also, this is a really good opportunity to make use of your focus target. So I can put my focus target on Walker 2 and still keep an eye on Walker 1 at the same time. So the white circle in hard mode is a little bit bigger. So just, alright, so the first shield's up on Walker 1. We're going to be getting Grab Vortex here in a moment. Grab Vortex now. Here's Grab Vortex. So we're going to get pulled in. Watch out for the red circles. Here's the purple circles that spawn under everyone. They will explode. And there you go. That's your base mechanics. So those are your basic mechanics, and you just rinse from here. Feel free to ask any questions, chat. I will, or my mods will direct them to me, and I will direct them to the expert in question. Grab Vortex.
Oh
no, what
I didn't
happened?
get the bomb.
It's okay. Swap to Unit 2. Just as a little bit of a fun sniper tip, those red circles you can pop entrench and entrench/hunker down and not move, because that's what we snipers do. We don't like to move. So just something to keep in mind. Again, a lot of these little tips and tricks are not really going to be applicable. Grab Vortex comes 6.0, so just do keep that in mind. So you don't have to spread out super far during the purple circles. You just need to be spread out far enough so that way you're not overlapping.
Well, you're not in two circles. The circles
Exactly,
can
very
overlap.
similar to the scatter bombs on Master Blaster. 25% on. I want all of the DPS to swap over at about 15% to start falling on. I'm actually going to swap right now to Walker 2. And I'm going a walk or two this way. Grab Vortex. Walk or two is at 56%.
14 on 1.
Start.
Last bomb should. Right.
%on walk or two. Grab Vortex coming soon. Grab Vortex. I usually like to try and save my movement abilities for the grab vortex, so sniper roll, 4 speed, hold the line, hydraulic overrides, mad dash, predation, really good there. Entrench, those prior movement speeds, so entrench, hold the line, hydro overrides, those will not work for the grab vortex initial pull. It's grab vortex, sorry. Will not work for the initial pull, so you can't cheese that, I know.
I'm gonna wait for the second shield to go up in 20 seconds, cause...
Okay, I guess stop DPS on both walkers.
Alright, stop DPSing.
Yeah, we would have the bomb, but the thing pulled me.
It's okay. Alright, get ready to burn raid buffs as well here.
If you already have the bomb, it prevents you from being pulled in, right? It's just you didn't have the bomb yet.
Yeah, I didn't have the
Just
bomb.
making sure before I start talking about it on my stream.
Going up.
Alright. Red circle right in the middle.
Walker 1 is at 0%.
Kill it. Go 2. It's gonna do the bombardment.
Yeah, but
You're
it's okay.
close.
We didn't even get hit with the tick.
So close.
Nicely done.
Kill the droid with jet charge. What are you guys doing?
Alrighty then. Under freaking lurker.
You under bug?
Underbug. Underbug!
Alright, hug the wall, please. Hug the wall.
No. If you are progging Underlurker, do not recommend skipping trash. Because that's going to be a lot of running back you're going to be doing.
Actually, it's recommended because this trash takes forever.
Yeah,
Right.
you just CC one thing, and here you could CC 2 things.
And the stealther always
skip right.
die, so... you can
Stealther always
skip.
dies.
Wait, we do have another stealther though, right?
No.
Oh.
Yo, yes we do. We have Tom.
Okay, I was gonna say we could stealth past this thing too, but...
Alright, so let's talk a little bit about Underlurker as we're getting over to him. So pretty much the same mechanics from story mode to hard mode have been swapped over. So pretty much the exact same mechanics. However, again,
So
everything
place
is...
this guy, by the way, and skip it.
Yeah.
But
Underlurker hits a lot harder, and when the ads spawn, there's going to be an additional mechanic where they slow you by, I believe it's like 85 to 90%. So what you're going to want to do here is anything that helps with your movement speed, Super Pred from Marauders and Transcendence from Sentinels is a lifesaver, is a godsend here. Super, super excellent to have. Hold the line, Hydraulics, also excellent here.
Force speed also works.
Force speed, you'll take immersion for force speed.
You don't have to.
You don't have to, but
You can take it.
it's a good thing to
but
take.
either way, it's only for the duration of the force speed, isn't it? You gotta just start.
It
Yeah,
was.
so immersion doesn't really do much since either one speeds you up.
It's good.
Important thing.
It's good if you're trying to get behind a rock and there's an ad up or an ad's almost about to die, because the debuff will last until the debuff doesn't go away when the ads die. The debuff will take out.
Or if you're a tank and you messed up your positioning, it helps a lot.
If I get
'Cause you
naked
do-
on my mailbox IRL, do you think people will give me money?
really important thing that I usually recommend if you're the tank and you are pulling the boss, pop a cooldown, pre-pop a cooldown, because I've seen people getting global because they didn't pop a cooldown.
Yep.
And like I recommend pre-pop a cooldown that gives you defense, because he's gonna melee you like pretty hard. So deflection, cyber ward, explosive field.
Yep. All right. Talk to me, Jadens and Elsa, about tanking Underlurker.
One tank
Okay.
goes DPS.
One
You
tank
can
is
go
DPS.
for it.
Yeah, I'm already AP.
Yeah, so one tank goes DPS usually because you don't really need two to hold them. The ads spawn roughly here, here, and here ish. I think I put them a little wrong, but basically the idea is to put him directly on tank marker. That way any spreadable DPS can spread to the two ads to either side of him. So basically you want to pull him from about where the heal marker is. 1 second, you can't see it from that angle. About there, and just kind of adjust as he's coming towards you, because as soon as the ads spawn, you're going to be slowed. And also that means that as soon as you do the cross after he pushes you, like I said, do not move after the rocks drop, because that can mess up the cross for everybody. As soon as you can move, as soon as the cross is green, you want to force speed or use another thing to get where you're supposed to be ASAP, so you have the lowest distance you can to get to where you are before the ads spawn, because the ads spawn pretty rapidly. Cooldowns so you don't die, and that's kind of that. The tanks also have to swap positions on the cross, so I'm going to be in front of him the first time, which means I have to be behind him the second time. Also, we do have to pop something when we're doing the cross, because he does do damage. I believe it's only when you're behind him, or is it in front of him? I forget. It's one of them. I just
Sorry,
popped
what was
it
the question?
time. Jaden?
Um,
He does damage to the tank
for
behind him or front of him?
in
For the cross.
front,
In
in
front.
front, and he put the debuff on you. That's why you have to swap. Because if you
Yeah.
don't swap, it's gonna not only one shot you, but it's gonna wipe the group because it's gonna fill the cross.
Yep. It's important for the tanks to swap. I pop something either way, but it's
Only
super
swap
important
on the
when.
cross. You don't. You can actually have like if you have 5 DPS, you can even have a healer stand in front. Like you can have anyone as long as.
I've
I've seen operative healers.
I've done it as a sniper. Entrench and
But
Yeah, like
entrench and
as long
evasion.
as someone. Yeah, like an operative just evasion, it'll be fine. Like as long as you have someone that's not the person that took the first hit from the front, stays in front, it's fine. But we're gonna do with the PT DPS, me and Elshad swapping.
Correct. Okay, awesome. Thank you, ladies. Healers, talk to me a little bit about this fight as an operative and a Sorc. Any tips or tricks for Underlurker?
Everyone's pretty spread out for like the majority of the fight, so your 8-person heals, they're good only when people are like stacked behind the rocks. So when everyone's stacked up, I get Culta Waves on the group, get everyone topped off. But other than that, it's just basically spot healing. It's making sure that everyone stays alive throughout, because I mean, all the DPS are spread out among the 3 ads, the tanks on the boss. It's just Culta Waves is not the thing unless people are stacked. Same for Culta Missiles, same for Reviv. You save those for like when everyone's stacked. Defensives for an operative come in handy, especially with like whenever he's about to destroy all the rocks. Make sure to pop shield probe. It'll absorb like majority of the damage. A stim boost DR is good if you're getting low during like ad phases. That DR will also help.
Any tips regarding Sorc healing? Wonder?
Most of the damage will come out when the ads are spawned. So be wary of that. And during the cross phase is a great time to get a lot of energy back since there's like basically no damage going out then.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Kagi and Crane. So many Ks in this group. Talk to me a little bit about being a melee DPS here on Underlurker.
All right. So the big thing for Juggernauts is this is probably the only fight that you'll want to take Pooled Hatred. It's in your mastery. It should be the very first one. When the underlings drop and they slow you down, the slow that they give you gives you stacks of Pooled Hatred, so you can do big damage with your abilities off of that. In addition to it, you'll also be able to reflect. So the underlings is a really good spot to get a lot of damage out.
How do you, as a Juggernaut, navigate the slow that the underlings put out, besides just the Pooled Hatred? How do you maneuver around the arena?
Well, you can always go with Unshackling Rage, which purges slowed movements. And then you could also go with Through Passion, which is activating your Endure Pain, means that your movement speed is increased by 50%. And with that, you can always your leap. If you position yourself early in the fight where one underling is, you'll be able to DPS that one down, and you'll also be far enough away from the other ones to leap to them, so you can always just straight up leap to them.
Yes, awesome. Thank you, Crane. Talk to me a little bit about Power Techs and Vanguards.
It's a lot more of the same. What's really nice for Power Techs and Vanguards is the reflective armor because it triggers so often.
Up close and personal.
Yeah, you take AoE damage and then suddenly you're, reflecting a small portion of it back, and it gives you a little bit of ammo as well. So you can be really greedy on this fight, and it does really well. So you'll see a lot of PTs and Vanguards do like 2k more than anybody else just because of that. But for the most part, you don't really have to think about it. You just kind of take it, and you're like, oh, great, AoE. More than anything, though, it's a lot about positioning. So, like Cog was saying, you don't want to be out of position when the ads come out because of the snare. Sure, you could use a leap. But sometimes, like, I've caught myself where I don't do it fast enough. I'm at 9 meters, right? And, like, I'm not quite close enough to leap, but I'm not quite close enough to, like, use my full melee abilities. That's kind of annoying. So as soon as the cross ends, I just kind of start walking straight towards the ads, and that helps a ton. Just keep yourself in position, and then you save like your hold the line, or you save all of your other movement abilities for emergencies, right? So as soon as the ads are down and you're trying to find out where the rocks are, and then you can use hold the line, get yourself behind a rock, and do that, and that'll help you keep you alive, and make sure you clear the whole thing.
Awesome, thank you. Last but certainly not least, Kruby, let's talk a little bit about being ranged DPS here on Underlurker.
Specifically for mercs, it's honestly the same fight as on story mode, like excluding the slow, but you have your hydraulic overrides, so it's kind of like, it's nothing really, and if you want to be like super safe, you can take torque boosters. It's within the masterful part of your utilities. You can take that, get an extra 4 seconds on it. Usually the tanks end up pulling the boss to the ads, so if you want to go ahead and pop like power overrides and then power surge, shoot a fusion missile in there. The ads also have less health than they do on story mode, so they go down pretty quick. Aside from that, play the exact same you would on story mode and just kill the ads as fast as possible.
Awesome, thank you. For Sorks and Snipers, I would take the Countermeasures Purge and the Seek Cover and the Heroic or the Masterful tier. Those are both they're both in Masterful. The Seek Cover is whenever you exit cover, entrench. You gain movement speed that purges any movement ability slows, so super helpful here. Sniper Roll is excellent here. Entrench for the aforementioned talent is excellent. Sorks were a little SOL. I like to take Immersion here in the Heroic tier, specifically for if I get caught out of range, or if I am, whatever, like if I'm just like, I need an emergency cooldown, or I need an emergency get out of jail free, I'm going to just press 4 speed and I'm going to get out of there. We can't really do the dancing that you will see a lot of other DPS do underneath behind the rocks. when the Fury channel is going through, we tend to get hit really hard during that, so try not to dance. If you do get caught, one of the big things that we didn't go over yet is that the Fury channel, when you're hiding behind the rocks, when you're not, I have seen people get 2-shot, even 1-shot, with the being caught out in the open arena, not behind a rock during that channel. So really, really super important that you are ready to be behind a rock as soon as the rock calling channel ends. You will hear me call out saying, you know, circle next to his arm, circle to his right, circle behind him, so that way people know that there are places for them to run to immediately and get in position. Other than that, pretty much the same thing during the cross, especially for Sorks. Pop a bubble, Cloud Mine, and or Unnatural Pres if you have the Unnatural Preservation talent. That I normally take Unnatural Vigor, that does damage reduction, but otherwise just Bubble and Cloud Mine. Try to see Force Barrier in case you are caught in the arena and not behind a rock. The rock patterns are random, so that's, just keep that in mind. Other than that, same thing. It's just pretty much story mode. Just watch your feet. All right.
One thing to add to that,
Go ahead.
groups will want to try and get into just 1 or 2 rocks so that healers can heal them during that time, AoE heals, things like that, because it is one of the few times that people are congregated in one spot. Because if people are too spread out, there are issues with the one person far away not being able to get healed during that area and coming out of that phase low in a fight that has constant AoE damage going out.
But it is more important for you to be safe behind a rock than to try.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're like,
But
let's say you get caught all the
try.
Yeah, you should try to stack with the group if you can, but if you cannot, it is more important for you to live, because dead DPS do no DPS. Kagiwagi, you ready, hun? Kagi. Poke. Kagi. And it's really not a good idea to pull with somebody not being here, primarily due to the cross. It's not a fight where you can just be a person down. If later on in the fight, you're down a player and their combat res is on cooldown, you can try. Everyone seriously pop cooldowns in the cross, but most likely some other people are going to die. So it's really important to not be caught or to start the fight out without.
Pulling in 3, 2.
You have done well so far. Steel yourselves.
So we're going to go ahead and try and get in position as fast as possible for when the ads show up. We do have a Dread Fortress, Dread Palace up on YouTube, actually, uncensored. It is all up on YouTube.
Rock.
Collapse.
There's one right in front of him.
Right in front, to his right behind him. So I'm going to go straight for behind him. See, here's an instance where it would be... It's not the best option, but it was more important for me to be safe than it was... Oh, my goodness. Frames. I did not think that was going to be correct. That long pause in between was terrifying. But yeah, when I was progging this in 3.0, it was absolutely imperative to have rocks, by the way, absolutely imperative to have a Marauder specifically for predation. See, so that was 2 shots. That was 2 hits of the the Rage channel. Get him up immediately. Sides.
was.
Was though.
He jumps to a random person. I don't think the aggro actually switched them.
Collapse.
There's one to his left.
2 to his left. So this is actually a really good position, so you'll get knocked straight back into the wall, and that's it. You don't go flying everywhere. Sides. Nice.
But it would
Epic
only get
timing.
worse.
Great
And
Love
timing.
it. Didn't
only
get
do
the
so
little
much.
babies.
No
Be
babies.
bold and
Yeah,
endure.
those are always annoying when he goes down and you're just slowed and you have to try
You're
to
like,
kill him.
oh gosh. Please don't pull. I gotta reset talents. All right. All right. You're good. So Revanite Commanders. Yes, when the rocks come down. Yep, that is correct. So Revanite Commanders, really not a lot of differences between story mode and hard mode. Really, I don't think there's any. Just really, everything just hits really, really hard. The AoE cleave from the Revanite Outlaws can wipe a group. Tank management is pretty big. Tank ad management is a pretty big deal. But other than that, there's really no additional changes from hard mode or from story mode to hard mode. One of the things you can do if you have a power tech or a vanguard in the group is when curse is down, that big purple circle, you can have that vanguard or power tech pop rebounders right when the purple circle goes out, and that will reflect onto curse. It's considered the cheese. Lots of groups do it if they can. Everything just hits
There's
louder.
also a
Go ahead.
second cheese.
Go ahead.
Sorry. There's
No.
also a second cheese for when you don't have that. With Curse about where he is right now, the tank holding him, who has the purple circle, they could basically just hug right here to line of sight when he's channeling that purple circle, and then you just kind of keep going in and out to make sure he doesn't move too far, and just kind of jump in there just so he doesn't pop that purple circle, especially when all 3 of them are down. That way the DPS can focus on the other 2, and the tank on Curse is basically not taking any damage unless they get aggro. Can also be done by a taunting DPS, I guess, but you kind of want to have the DPS focusing on the other ones. So that is the other cheese when you don't have rebounders.
Awesome. Thank you very much. This one I would like to just go ahead and pull, since there's not, unless anyone says there's anything really big, really different that they want to talk about, we can talk about that during the fight, but I want to spend a lot of our time here on Revan, and since this is a glorified trash pull, we're going to talk mostly during this fight, unless anyone has anything specific.
Just make sure you don't kill ads while the bosses are down, because that's what triggers the next boss dropping down, and any you kill before the boss goes up don't count toward the next boss coming down. So it just takes a little longer, and you have to hit things that you wouldn't have to kill things otherwise.
So James and Elsa, talk to me about being an ad. Talk to me about the differences about doing ad management, all that good jazz here in
Not
Revanite.
different in story mode at all.
Really?
Things hurt more.
Curse is down. Go ahead and
They
stack
just
for
hurt a little bit
rebounders.
more, but not much. Yeah, I'll give
Stack for
rebounders.
rebounders.
Stack for rebounders, please.
Go, Curse! Go!
So that's what we say when we're stacking for rebounders. We're going to stand right there. It's going to reflect. It takes a lot of getting used to, because you're like, oh god, I'm going to sit there. Oh no!
We don't have
No
rebounders.
rebounders here.
As a merc, you can reflect that though. The purple circle with safeguards.
Awesome, thank you. Kagi, is there anything special about being a Juggernaut here on Revanite Commanders that you want to talk about?
You get to do lots of smash. I do think you can reflect it as a Juggernaut. The same thing. The same
I
thing.
believe you can.
You
yeah.
can.
Yes. You just can't reflect it as a Sork. Can't reflect it as a sniper. But yeah, anything with an actual like reflect, like rebounders or saber reflect.
Yeah. You just want to coordinate that because if that second cheese I was talking about, you're just gonna waste a reflect, which can be used for other things.
We can
because
just we just gonna rebound the last phase anyway, so.
Are we rebounding the last phase, or do you want me to do the
Yeah.
other cheese on the last phase?
No, we're rebounding.
Okay.
You know, this can be fixed anytime, so.
Push yourself, son-o!
Yeah, yeah.
Victory to whoever collects the most heads.
Darren's about to come down.
Man, though, I remember progging this in 3.0. It was so hard. I spent weeks, I think, learning Revanite Commanders. It can be a very intense heal check as well.
I won't let Revan fail.
Am I wrong, Tom and Wonder?
If I was so sure. Wonder doesn't let me so.
Just them. Destroy them.
No. I mean, most of it is just watching people's debuffs and getting rid of the armor debuff, getting rid of the debuff that has stacks that deals damage. It's making sure you yourself, if you get targeted by ads and no one's there to peel them off, as an operative, you've got flashbang as crowd control, you've got debilitate, you can mitigate so much damage. Sorks have bubble stun if they take it.
I've never taken bubble stun. Probably should have.
For the Revanites, also, if you have pull or anything like that, wait till they do their channel death from above to interrupt that at the same time.
I'll paint the floors with
Darren's
your
back down.
blood.
Actually, I'd hate you. Yeah. Yeah, this is a really good good place for lots of fluffing. Really good fluffing area here. So Virulence, Hatred, Madness. You could play Madness here. I prefer to play Lightning clearly here. But you can play Madness pretty well.
What's going to be a really good tactical is the marksmanship tactical.
Heck yes.
Where penetrating blast is a splash.
Oh my gosh, yes. That's going to be overpowered here.
Take it to him, team.
And
First is just chilling in the middle, man. Just chilling.
Yep, same.
Not only is it a splash, but it's also a armor buff spread at that point.
Oh, yes it is. Dot spread and knowing how to make this, knowing this fight correct. A lot of this fight boils down to ad management and making sure that you're not leaving through. Because the bosses themselves are actually very simple.
You're in for it now.
Correct. As always, having good tanks and good healers makes things a whole lot easier.
Yep, makes Koga's carryable.
Or not a carry.
Sano does a kick also that kind of swaps the aggro, something to watch out for. Okay, good.
One of the things that we did when we try to solo tank this is we'll try to bug him by like taunting him out of range. If he never lose aggro, he literally does no mechanics whatsoever. And then at the end, you can just group everybody, and he'll never do his nut kick, and he'll never put a shield up.
He's not up yet. I mean, he's not down.
Now he's down.
No, he is.
Yeah. Let me do the cheese ones just to show it.
Go ahead.
So like right here, he should. There you go. It failed. Okay. Top rebounders now.
Rebounders.
You could keep doing that the entire time he's down and just kind of do that.
Oof.
Yeah, there's a lot of ads right here.
Well, it was also because, like, several of us got stunned.
Return so I can just give rebounder on cooldown.
Alright.
Okay.
Let's just go ahead and pop Rainbow real quick.
Rebounders, rebound. Ah, shit, I got pulled out.
You taunted.
Everyone on
Yep.
Sano.
I didn't have rebalancers in that one. I was just stack everything.
Okay.
The next one.
I'm gonna carp these ads.
Rebounders for the next one.
Yep, I have.
On curse.
I'm not gonna move into Darren because Darren bugs.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
I think one of our. Are you playing AP right now? Or Pyro? Crane?
Yeah.
You're playing Pyro?
Yeah, I find it a lot better.
Yeah, somebody in chat was just mentioning that.
Not even for the AoEs. It's just that you don't have to maintain your dots, and it doesn't basically drain your ammo at rail shot people with
Yeah.
with AP. It's just the fact that you can do so many hits without worrying about the fact that you have whether or not you have a dot up or not.
Yeah, that's true. Alright, and that's Revanite Commanders. Let's just go ahead and clear trash, honestly. We'll talk a little bit about Revan. Pyro's also really faster. Yeah. Alright. Alright.
Don't pull for a second.
No worries.
I actually need to put the right utilities on.
Please and thank you, my dear.
Yes.
Alright. So, Revan in hard mode, it's a big shift. Hard mode Revan is a huge shift from story mode up.
So if you're
Go ahead.
you're wondering what the difference is, like healing wise, like between story and hard mode for Revanites, it's like Revanites 24k HPS, 6k effective. I did 20k HPS and like 7.5 effective. So I mean, it's not that big of a jump. At least not as an operative.
No, not for commanders. But let's go ahead and start pulling trash whenever you are ready, Els. But Revan itself, it is probably, I would say, for the hard modes. Go ahead. For the hard modes, it is probably the biggest difficulty shift out of the entire hard modes, including yeah, DF, DP, all of that good stuff. Lots of new mechanics show up here in Revan. Very unforgiving mechanics. You know how a little bit earlier we were talking about how Revan is one of those fights you can't brute force with gear. Like you can't just like completely obliterate. Like you can a lot of the other nightmare fights. You can just brute force it. When we say brute force, no, you're fine, Jimmy. When we say brute force, we're talking about like just having being over geared to the point where you can miss certain mechanics because you pushed your phase too fast. Cannot do that here. So you can have the best DPS in the world. Like you can legitimately have the best DPS in the world, but if they don't know how to listen and they don't know how to understand mechanics, you are not going to kill Revan. Period. Revan is all about Revan is all about mechanics.
Oh, we're not.
No, I pressed the wrong just charge instead of rep.
I was gonna say like.
Oh. So lots of people, by the way, will pull these trash here in the corner. So for AOE, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
All right.
Also, usually we sap the healer, which is the manipulator right here. But
Can someone get this commando off me, please? Though that would be perfection. Thank you, ma'am. So, all right, I'm gonna talk a little bit about first floor, just the new mechanics here on first floor Revan. So we showed you the blades. So you saw the blades. You saw we didn't actually have trail, or the tether, as I was talking about earlier in story mode. So the tether, as I was talking about in story mode, is here. So that's gonna be that big yellow line between two players. Can be. Oh, these guys love to
who went ahead? Who went ahead?
Yeah, no, it was Scroovier AFK. Give me a second. I'll solve this problem.
Yes, it does. Oh, welcome back. Yeah.
Give me a second.
Yeah, here I can. We can do a. Come on, Wonder.
You can.
I'll get first.
You can.
Okay, you get him first. I got next.
Well, the healer's dead anyway. But yeah, the one thing with the trash here, If anyone pulls this trash while there's anybody in Revan's room, or as you saw way back in the Commanders, the trash does reset. Which kind of gets quite annoying because then you have to do it all over again. So like if people are trying to clear
so
trash,
tanky.
anybody in Revan's room has to leave Revan's room and come back here, or else this kind of becomes pointless. And you actually, funnily enough, see berserkers and other things just come up to you next to Revan and be all, hi!
Hi!
Which is fun, but kind of counterproductive to anybody trying to actually kill them down here.
Correct. Alright, so first floor mechanics that are new. And, you know, we might actually need to do a couple pulls on Revan. Just thinking about it. But
That's
anyway.
fine.
But, okay, so, and then I'm going to have the tanks. Okay, so tanking, huge deal here on Revan. Especially on first and second floor. Probably the most critical role, I would say, besides healer, is going to be a tank for Revan. And we're going to let the healers talk about why they have such a critical role as well. It depends. It depends
on the floor.
It does.
On the first floor, I would say it's a healer because they have to do cleanses, and it's actually, if you are not geared, like you are under geared, it's quite hard to heal that.
Correct.
And the second floor, I would say it's a lot on tank positioning and people getting the blades off. And the third floor is about DPS living.
Yep. So it's honestly one of the facts is that Revan is a very, very balanced fight when it comes to like everything. Yes, people hitting the blades. Yeah, you're right. Hi, Replica. Okay, so new mechanics for first floor. Just overall new mechanics for first floor Revan. So we have the tether, which is a big yellow beam that goes to 2 players. You just have to make sure that you go through, the tether goes through the yellow beam here in the middle. The bright yellow beam. Next new mechanic, you have the blades, which have to be knocked back, but those are also from story mode. Alright, corruption. So Revan will do this ability, it's called Corrupted Gaze, Corrupted something or other. And people are going to get a stack. One of the other reasons that we definitely, you know, if you're progging it, definitely recommend to have a balance between ranged and melee is that this is a big heal check. This is where the healers come into play. You have to cleanse it. Corrupted essences. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. When you cleanse, you cannot cleanse yourself. So I, as a Sork, whenever I get a stack of corrupted essences, I can't cleanse that because it will just come back onto my... It'll just refresh itself. So that's the healer mechanic we were talking about. So when the healer cleanses a corrupted essence, it stacks on the person that does the cleanse, and it kind of explodes in an AoE, so it can spread. So if a melee has the corrupted essence and a healer, you know, or cleanses themselves inside with all of the melee, it's gonna spread to the tanks, to all of the rest of the melee in the group. It's bad, and you can't recover from that because the corrupted essences actually have a tick down. Once it ticks down and it hasn't been cleansed off, you will die. Period. End of story. So you're gonna hear what's gonna happen is the 2 ranged DPS, so myself and Kruvy. So I'm gonna stand right about this area here. And Kruvy's going to stand right about in this area here. We're also going to be standing out here to bait the blades for knockbacks. The blades target the person that's farthest away. So I'm going to try and be as far away from the group as everybody else is. So Kruvy and I are, so there's going to be 2 blades, one from either side. So we're going to try and bait them. So that way we are the only people that deal with it and not the melee and the healers and all of that jazz. It's also going to be really good because we don't have to run out of the group to get essences cleansed. So we don't have to call out that we're clear. The melee, on the other hand, are going to be running out, and I'm going to have them talk it. Person closest to them, farthest away. It's a range. So if you have 2 people, really far away from the boss, it's going to go to the person that's closest to the blade spawn. So, like in 16 man, that happens a lot. I'm gonna have Crane and Kagi talk about how they run away to get corrupted essences cleansed. When it comes to them,
Run away!
run away! Just run away! That's literally what it is. So they're gonna basically just run away to a safe spot, and they're gonna say their name. They're gonna say, Kagi clear. Healer's gonna cleanse them, and they're gonna run back into the group. Very, very important as a melee to not jump back into the group until you know that thing's been cleansed.
Also, don't go too far and outrange the healers. Please.
Correct. Do not go way too don't go out into BFE. Don't go way out here as a melee. You can usually just make sure that you're just away from the group and not next to a healer or ranged, and you should be fine. During the course of the fight, primarily he will be targeting the healers, but HK will be standing up on the stairs here, and he will be pew-pewing. You can, I believe healers do get knocked down if your back is facing to him, but do correct me. However, I've also taken aggro as a Sork. I've taken aggro, so sometimes he'll be shooting at me, so that's just something to keep in mind. You can fall in to the middle, so try not to do that.
Or to the outside, too.
Or to the outside. Fall damage, bridge boss is real here.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Also, just by the way, you cannot aggro Revan until you actually, hit him with something. So, yeah, this is my bud, Revan. Hey, Revan, what's up? What's up, Revan? Anyway, so that happens between 100% and 65%. Then Revan will go into his bubble and say, HK, it is time. HK is going to drop down and complain that we're not cool enough to kill. And he's going to be all like, yeah, whatever. And then yes, he is very, very tall. He's a very tall model. He's very tall. Him's a big boy. So the HK phase here on first floor, same thing. Pretty much the same mechanics as story mode with the added mechanic of kill shot and droids. I'm going to let the tanks talk about kill shot when we get there. But for the DPS, there's going to be droids that spawn during the kill shot phase. There's going to be 4 droids that spawn. There's going to be, so let's say Revan, let's say we're gonna have HK spawn the kill shot droids here. Yes, he is taller than a body type 3. So there's going to be a droid here. There's going to be a droid here. There's going to be a droid right where Revan's standing. And then there's going to be a droid behind. So there's going to be 4 droids all together. The outside triangle are going to need to be interrupted. I think the healers take the back one.
Yes.
So healers will take the back one here. Tanks will take, tank will take one of them. The left one. And then a DPS will take the right one. Typically you want like a Marauder or a Juggernaut, but anyone can do it. I've done it. But I'm going to have Kagi do it this time, unless somebody else did it for our practice runs. But all of the other DPS are going to be focused on the droid in the middle. It's a simulated meatbag droid. It's going to have a large cast time that once it reaches that cast, I don't remember who did it, but it's okay. I'll figure it out. When that cast ends, it will start throwing out very hard-hitting shots. Yes, please, Crane. So if you have like a Reflect, Rebounders, Saber Reflect, Sork Bubble Reflect, and Cloud Mine, you can reflect the shot back. But if you're like a sniper or anything, you can't. So it's really, I see a lot of group swiping here on droid phase, due to that mechanic. So so on the side ones, they have to be interrupted, and then they'll explode. I think you also have to hit it too. So you have to interrupt it, and then you have to hit it.
No, just interrupt.
Just interrupt, and then they'll explode, and then all of the other DPS are going to be focused on the middle droid. You'll have the grenades as well, and the big HK reflective shield. As a ranged, I'm going to run out of the shield and cleanse myself, and then come back in once it's safe. Rude, Kagi. But other than that, those are the additional mechanics for floor 1. We haven't even touched floor 2 or floor 3. No, Crane's got it, Kagi. Yes, so I'm going to actually have tanks go last this time because they have such a long explanation.
One thing about the droids and the blades, just, it's not a tanking thing, but the spawns of those depend on where Revan and HK is respectively.
Yes.
Always. So when a tank moves Revan off to the side, or like let's say they're holding a HK over here, the droids will not spawn where you had the markers. They will spawn like here and
In proximity to HK, correct?
Yeah, here if this is where HK is, and then the third one's going to basically be almost on top of him. So it's very important for people who have interrupts to make sure they see all 3 droids, because it has happened before that they try to interrupt the left droid thinking it's the right droid, or vice versa, or thinking the middle droid is the side droid. Or DPSing down a side droid thinking it's the middle droid. So make sure you take a split second, make sure you see 3 droids, and you take the left, the right, or whichever one you're supposed to go to.
Yep. Correct. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna have the DPS talk here about the first floor, and then I'm gonna go to healers, and then I'm gonna go to tanks. So, Kagi and Crane, talk to me about being a melee here on hard mode Revan.
Either really fun or really crappy.
Elaborate.
It's really RNG based, depending on if you're getting the thing that needs to be cleansed from the healers,
Corrupted essences.
right? And so you need to make sure that's cleansed, and so you can lose a lot of DPS with that. And then it's dependent on the rubber band that you get. So you have to go through the beam to turn off. So it's really dependent on those 2, and you never know which one you're gonna get. So you can get all of them, or you can get none of them, or a little bit of a mix. So it's a little rough for melee DPS.
Crane, do you have anything you'd like to talk about being a melee DPS here on Revan?
Yeah, one of the things that can make your life a lot easier, especially as Cog was saying, that it can be hell if you get every single one of them, is you really don't want to delay too much on running out. You really, if you're in the middle of a cast or something, doesn't really matter, because the dots come out probably only a couple seconds longer than the healer's cleanses. So like if you get behind, then the next time you get it, you're gonna be standing out and waiting even longer, right? So the faster you can get that done, it just kind of improves everybody's lives. If you get it down really quickly, you'll stand out, get cleansed immediately, and walk right back in, and so your DPS downtime will be almost nothing. But if you sit there and wait 10 seconds, run out, get cleansed, then the next time the the dot goes out, then it's going to take you forever to get cleansed, and that's just annoying. But apart from that, it's not too bad. Just kind of stand out of things. You don't have to run too far, as was said. Really, the range is I think 4 meter radius. It's not that big. You could, if you have 10 meter abilities, you could probably still use them once you get comfortable with the radius. Still attack, get cleansed, then use your melees once you go back in.
Right.
And then just be vigilant on your dots. On your debuffs. Just sometimes it's hard to tell when you've got the rubber band on you if you're tunneling the boss. You just sit there and watch the other guy struggle as he kind of has to walk around the pillar for you. It's not too bad otherwise. And then the grenades on HK, it's really easy, especially if you don't have a self cleanse, to get stuck and somebody else drops. You get knocked down with your grenade, and then somebody else's grenade is next to you, and then you get hit twice, and that's kind of annoying. At least on a Vanguard, you just don't have a self cleanse, so you just have to be really vigilant to not kill yourself with the grenades.
One of the things I also want to point out for DPS before we move on to healers, someone pointed out in chat about evasion, and I want to, DPS with self cleanses, so operative scoundrels, sorks, sages, mercs, mandos, do not self cleanse. So that's evasion, that's regular cleanse, force god bubble. Cannot self cleanse yourself, because the only thing that's going to do, so if you're an operative or a scoundrel, if you do a self cleanse on evasion or a self cleanse, it's going to spread to the melee, and it's going to spread to the tanks, and it's going to be nasty. Congratulations on your clear, by the way. For sorks, it's just going to refresh it. So really, and it's going to take some time to have that oh, I can cleanse this. No, you cannot. This is the only fight where you taking on something to help the healers out is a no-no.
Not to mention Mara Mass Cleanse.
Mara Mass Cleanse. If you have the cleanse on predation, please take that talent out.
Exactly.
Please don't use predation in this fight at all. Just take it on your bar. Just take it on your bar.
Question: isn't the predation utility on the movement impairing?
Yeah. It's
I believe it also cleanses, doesn't it?
There is
I know they
another
use
Pretty sure
talent.
it's only movement impairing.
There is another talent. I believe it's in the heroic tier that will cleanse everything.
There is a camo cleanse.
Yeah,
that's
can't take camo cleanse. So if you have a cleanse at all,
No,
you
it is a
don't use it.
movement. It's just it
Yeah.
cleanses
Yeah,
on the
movement
warlords.
impairing is
That's
not
why.
gonna do anything.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
but-
not gonna do anything. Movement impairing.
True.
But there's no reason for you to take that.
Yeah, no reason for you to take that. So if you have a self cleanse, don't take it. Marauders take predation off your bar. Sentinels take transcendence off your bar. That ability does not exist in this fight. Well, I take that back. You can have it for first floor. Can't have it for second or third. And you definitely can't
Well,
have
you
it for the
can
transitions.
once the group is, you know, good
Yes.
enough and you want to troll some people. Mid stairs, pred. Let's.
Yeah. If you if
enjoy.
you're progging Revan and your Marauder
do it.
pops predation on the stairs, he needs to have a serious talking to. Don't pop
And a
pred on the
Sork
stairs.
pull.
Sork
And a
pull.
Sork pull.
Yeah, Sork pulls are good too. Yeah, that's true. So predation is really good for, you know, if your tank is slow on running kill shot, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But once again, cannot emphasize enough, if you have a self cleanse as a DPS, do not use it. That ability does not exist in this fight. You might think you're helping the healers out, you're actually making their life a lot harder, and they're going to hate you. Speaking of healers, Tom and Wonder, talk to me about healing hard mode Revan first floor.
Hi, welcome to dating your healing partner. Because you need to find one that you trust and you like, and you can actually communicate with. Because if you don't have communication here, you're dead. Because, like, before we even got in the room, I asked Wonder, hey, do you want top or bottom? And by that I mean, do you want the melee or ranged? And then there's also the bug where, you know, Jaden's is going to be Pyro AP, and so she's also going to need cleansed. And so we had to figure out, like, who's going to cleanse her if she gets the buff, and who cleanses the DPS. So
the only reason I get the cleanse is because the cleanse is supposed to go on DPS specs. And even though I'm tanking the boss, I'm on a DPS spec because
It's
like
okay,
you don't
Jadens,
you
we love
actually
you
don't
anyway.
you don't need to 5 DPS this that I'm doing because I want to have some fun and I know it's possible and I can do that. So
No, we love it's really not a big deal. But yes, typically you're not going to have your tanks will not get the cleanses. But if you are solo tanking, like we are going to be solo tanking tonight, anybody, as they said earlier, anybody in a DPS spec will get a stack of will be eligible for corrupted essences. So do keep that in mind. Anyway, Tom, please continue. Skank tanks, thank you.
Yeah, so you have to communicate between your healer, like who's getting what cleanses. Just like, as I said, Wonder's getting the ranged, I'm getting the melee, I'm getting Jaden's in case she gets a stack. Positioning is also another thing because you can't cleanse someone and be stacked on top of someone else. I think that's a thing.
Yes,
I might be wrong. So, like, the healers, they'll be fine, like, stacked near each other, but don't stack on the range, don't stack near the melee, or you're just going to spread dots. You need to be careful, like, don't just pop your DCDs willy-nilly, because when you get to, like, 3 or 4 stacks, depending on DPS, if your DPS is really low, you can get upwards of, like, 6 to 8 stacks. And at that point, it's like you're going to need a DCD. And for that, I mean, like for Operative Scoundrel, you're going to need Stim Boost, Pugnancy DR, Shield Probe, maybe a Tank Adrenal if it's really needed. For Mercs, basically Energy Shield, Reflex, just anything that will mitigate the damage. Even the utility, like for Mercs, where you build 10 stacks and then it heals when Energy Shield pops or something of the sort. That's a good DCD to use, because you'll just constantly be taking damage from the stacks. But yeah, just have those DCDs ready to be popped. Depending on which group you're healing or cleansing, like I'm cleansing the melee, I need to like know who my cleanses are and like target them and see whenever they're out of the group. because most of the time they'll call out when they're out, and sometimes I'll just be on top of it and I'll cleanse them like when they're already out before they even call it. So it's just it's being on top of that sort of thing.
What about HK?
HK, so healers. I know we hate this. There's certain fights we need to do it on, like Styrak and Tithe. Apparently, I have to do this on Tithe, but you have to, gear for like 110% accuracy, because the last thing you want to do is miss your interrupt on the droid. Because
That
healers.
Yes, the
Yeah.
one-shot droid.
The one-shot droid. Because healers get the droid that's on the outside. So, like, if heal marker is a droid, and like, there's the droid in the center, and then there's the droid that, like, the DPS get, and then there's the droid the tanks get. The healers get this one, and we have to interrupt it. And if both healers miss, because we don't have 110 accuracy, we're just kind of dead. Because it's like scrambling to find interrupt. So for me, I always for this fight, I just throw my 2-piece set bonus from my operative DPS set, boots and gloves and stim, and I've got 110, and I'm ready to go. For me as an operative healer, the 6 set bonus isn't exactly like a need-all. Like 3 seconds off nanites is good and all, but yeah.
Having the 110 accuracy for the droid is a little bit more important.
The other thing is, when the phase is done, when HK comes down, the healers will come down and cleanse themselves on 2 puddles that'll be on the south and north of the map. Basically, like, the healers just sort out which one they're going to go to. Like, I normally just always go to the south one, Wonder normally goes to the north one, and then we meet back and we start DPSing HK. Or healing the group, or whatever.
So when he's talking about puddles, it's going to be a bright white puddle. It's probably about the size of a revivification puddle, and it's going to appear. DPS need to make sure that you don't step in it, because whoever steps in it consumes the puddle. Definitely need to make sure that your healers can cleanse themselves. Otherwise, goodbye healers.
There is also a puddle that spawns before Revan goes down that can spawn any spot, that can be on any of the 2 spots, and can be at the door too. Usually, I would say one of the healers can use that in the middle of the fight to reduce all the stacks they get. But since we are 5 DPS in this, I should probably take the puddle.
Okay.
So
Wonder,
it's
do you
less
have
trouble.
anything you would like to add regarding first floor healing?
As like a Sorka or Merc, you can knock back the blades if for some reason the DPS missed. But Tom covered most of that healing stuff.
And
Awesome.
then we get into my favorite part.
Which is?
Operative troll shot.
Oh, operative troll shot. Isn't there's a cleanse, right?
No. Just troll shot. Just mobile strategies where if you roll, exfiltrate gives overload shot a knockback.
Oh. So if you don't have anyone in your group that can knock back, which should not be a thing, Jugs can knock back. Vanguards and power techs can pull blades, harpoon blades into the middle, so there should be someone at all times who can handle blades. But if worse comes to worse, operatives can do that knockback as well. All right, so I know that this is a lot of information. Also, thank you very much for the sub. Welcome back. But we're not done with first floor. This is a huge fight. So now we're going to talk about tanks. But just as a let you know, if you are interested in learning how to tank Revan, currently right now at wall of text incoming. Hey, Audria. Right now, Elsa, one of our experts here, is streaming the tanking perspective. So if you're interested in learning how to tank Revan, definitely go pop that stream open as well. But I am going to let the tanks take the floor. So Elsa and Jadens, talk to me about tanking first floor Revan.
Okay.
So you go first.
Sure. You won't see the entire. Well, no, that's for second floor. But okay, so first thing you need to know, which is a very trolly thing they added, versus story mode, because I remember the first time I went in with one of my teams, somebody pulled Revan, and they got yeeted into the middle and basically said, "Yep, I'm done." Um, Revan throw. I am not kidding you. That was a very funny day. So the first thing Revan's gonna do is he's going to throw you over his shoulder. So basically, you no longer can start from here. You have to start from the side, so you get thrown onto a platform and not into the core and instantly killed. So usually what I'll do is I'll start from stealth and I'll just basically spike and taunt him just to make sure, because sometimes an eager DPS can rip in that tiny fraction of a second between you poking and him tossing, and then the DPS gets yeeted to the side into the middle. So also good idea for DPS to be on the side just in case you do rip, especially when you're progging this fight. So the tank's going to get thrown and they're going to get a debuff. That's the same time the second tank is going to taunt and Revan is going to move. Right now, we're probably only going to get 1 to 2 trails, which is a series of circles the tanks have to kite. But basically, we have to position ourselves accordingly. And also, at the beginning, when we're not so overgeared, you're looking at 3 trails, maybe even 4. I think I've seen 4 ones.
I've seen 5.
Okay, so the best way I've seen it done is that the first tank holds it just a little bit further back than Wonder is, staying in the middle so that the blades spawn at 3 and 9. This method does mean that DPS have to be careful about this puddle that sometimes spawns right here. If people don't want to do that, they can move him off to the side. I'll get into that a little bit later, but basically the idea is to put the first trail right along this line right here that I'm running down, right next to the pretty pattern in the middle. And you do just go out, and once the trail ends, then you come back in. You don't go back and forth. That way, so you're holding Revan right here, and then when the second tank taunts off you when you get the trail, because that is the tank swap, the second tank holds it right here next to the edge. And that way they could do the second trail right behind the first trail, leaving the other side for trails 3 and 4. And then I don't know exactly. Well, you'll have to get creative with the 5th trail apparently. But actually, I'm not sure if the first trail will go away by then or if you do have to get creative. But the standard when I saw this before we got 248 gear, I believe, before 248, definitely before 252, was 3 trails unless you had good DPS. Right now, the standard is 2 trails with 1 being pretty good, pretty possible, not, super hard. So anyway, so that's the first new mechanic, trail for tanks. The tank swap has to be quick. As soon as you see that cast go out, you have to taunt off your partner. Because of the other mechanic, which is backstab, you always have to be faced as the tank, the person with aggro on Revan. You always have to be facing Revan. If you show him your back, he will more or less one-shot you, or at least hurt you very, very much, which in lesser gear is a one-shot. So unless you have a major cooldown, for instance, Shroud, popped for that, you're in a bad position. So you should never show your back to Revan, to the point where even if you have trail, you're going to be backpedaling if you're holding Revan, if for some reason there's an issue with the other tank. And you also have to make sure when you're dropping trail that the other tank has taunted before you turn your back on Revan, because then you're getting stabbed and you're in a red puddle, which hurts a lot. And you will die, basically. The other mechanic comes after. So basically, also he's going to do a whole bunch of attacks that you have to watch out for. The biggest one, which he more or less opens with, it's like his 4th attack, I believe, is a cleave. I forget what it's called. Jaden's, do you remember? The cleave?
The name?
Yeah. Like, I know it. It's, yeah, okay, good. It's not just me.
Yeah, I know the icon looks like the old Surge in Charge from Deception.
Yeah. I'll call it out when I see it. I'll just look for it. But basically, it's a cleave that goes out, and he does it twice in a row. You do want to pop something for it, something fairly minor. I usually just pop 4 speed. Something saber, I believe. And it is a cleave, so DPS, you want to make sure you are behind the boss, and not near the tank anywhere because it is a pretty big conal. And the tank needs to make sure they're positioned properly and not cleaving the group. On the second floor, it kind of gets iffy in a couple spots, but that's for later. The other thing he's going to do is a raid wide called Heave, which
Overcharged dual saber attack.
Overcharged saber, thank you. So Overcharged Saber has 2 attacks on it, so he's going to do it twice in rapid succession, and that is a cleave, and that hurts the group a lot. So be careful of that. For tanks, position him properly. For DPS, don't stand next to the boss, in front of or to the side of the boss. You'll get cleaved, and yeah, especially when the first tank is holding him fairly close to middle, like the DPS should be in this inner ring. They should not be over here because they might still get cleaved. That's his bigger attack. As far as like things that the tank has to worry about for the raid. He's also going to cast a few other attacks. Those ones you just kind of roll with. They're not cleaves. The big one to watch out for is Trail of Agony, which is the dot well, not the dot, but the circles he drops on you that you have to make a trail of. That is the tank swap. That is the important thing you do not want to miss. That's the positioning for Revan. And as I mentioned earlier, Revan's positioning determines where the blades will spawn. In this phase, usually the person who gets the blades has to kind of adjust to where the Revan is if they want to be right there when blades spawn. But that's a minor thing. Then once HK comes out, there's a very small window once he drops down to taunt him so that you get the first cleave that he does so that it doesn't just go through all of the DPS. And you can move out of that as soon as that's put down. That's permanent. Also, the other thing is kill shot, which HK does. That thing is basically a channel where you have a beam on you and it will one-shot you unless you are directly through this core between you and Revan. So like Revan, between you and HK, like Revan is between behind the core. So here I wouldn't get killed. Here he would still kill me, and here it's kind of iffy. So you kind of want to be directly through it, and that core basically burns up the bullet, and it doesn't kill you. And if it does kill you, he'll just do it on somebody else, by the way. So if it kills the tank, usually the next tank has to start running. And of course, the other tank is supposed to be interrupting this droid, so things can go south fast when that's not done correctly. The other thing is the first kill shot is very annoyingly timed with the grenades. So you have to be very careful to cleanse your grenade, wait for yourself to still get knocked down before you pop 4 speed or other things, because then it'll not take you as far as you want it to take you. Let's see what else. HK also does a stacking debuff, which looks like a red shiv type icon. and that is also a tank swap. You want to get 2 to 3 stacks, usually 2. I'll be doing 3 and 1 with Jaden's, just to kind of keep that a little bit lower in damage for her. What else? That's about it for first floor, I believe. Kill shot, well, trail, kill shot, and interrupting the droid are the 3 big ones, plus the tank swaps on trail and on the stacks from HK. Jaden's, anything to add?
Nah.
All right.
So,
Do you have anything you want to add there, Jaden's?
nah, just like a floor 2 and floor 3, I would say
Yeah.
something.
Well,
floor
do we want to talk about floor 2 and floor 3?
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and
Yeah,
kind of do a
we should
brief
go.
overview. It's really hard to
Okay.
talk about the mechanics for floor 2 and 3 because they're different, and it's hard to.
Well, but I can talk about
Yeah,
them.
we can talk about them, but it's gonna be easier to see them. I'm gonna once again we're gonna go over the DPS, then we're gonna go to the healers, then we'll go to the tanks.
Okay.
So for floor 2, so once HK dies and you do the jumping puzzle, you get across the platforms here, you get across the platform there, you don't use predation here on the stairs. There's going to be 4 pylons that spawn that will need to be DPS down. So you'll see them. You'll see 2 at the back and then 2 at the front of the platform. Just as an FYI, the platform is a little bit smaller on floors 2 and 3. Just they're a bit more narrow. We still will have the blades mechanic on floors 2 and 3, so keep that in mind. But once the pylons on floor 2 are down, everyone is going to stack. Okay, I'm going to throw a little curveball at you. Your mini-map is going to be a clock, and you'll need to remember this because this is going to be very, very important on 3rd floor. So where Revan is right now, that is 9 o'clock. That's not 6 o'clock. That's 9 o'clock. So, and we're not talking digital clocks. This right here is 6. Don't use the mini-map. Okay, we're not going to use the mini-map. So this right here is going to be 6 o'clock here. So Revan is 6. This is going to be 9. Yeah, sorry about that. So on operator 9 in TFB, you have to use that mini map. I apologize, I got mixed up a little bit. This is going to be noon here, or 12, and then this is going to be 3. So everything is going. So Revan, because he's Revan, is the center of attention. So he's going to be 6 o'clock. So on phase 2, on floor 2, when we get up there, everyone is going to stack at the 12 o'clock phase. Everyone, tanks, healers, DPS, doesn't matter. If you're a raider in hard mode Revan on 2nd floor, you're going to be stacking at the 12 o'clock phase. So we're going to stack here. Tanks are going to keep the cleave away from the group. They're going to have Revan faced away from the rest of the group. And then we're adding a new mechanic called push-pull. Now this push-pull mechanic is introduced on floor 2 and will be brought up to floor 3. So there's going to be a big pulsing light from... So for the push, there's going to be a pulsing light from the middle of the beam, and for the pull there's going to be kind of like an inhalation. That's your visual reminder. There's also going to be a thunderclap audio cue that says no. There's also going to be a visual. So there's a visual cue and there's an auditory cue. You can also use timers from Star Parse here. But what's going to happen is that push is going to knock everyone to the opposite side of the arena. So it's very, very important that you're as close to the side that you're on, so you don't get knocked off or knocked into the middle. So we're going to be dancing from side to side, push pull, depending on what portion of the mechanic it is. And you're going to hear people call out push, pull incoming, push incoming. But we're going to be doing that the entire time. We're also going to be moving around with the tanks, and I'm going to let the tanks talk about why we're going to be moving around. But the range DPS and the healers are going to be moving to the side because we also have the purple circles or the aberrations spawning on phase 2 as well. They're going to spawn first. They're going to spawn at the 1 a.m., 12 o'clock position on floor 2, and they're going to start moving. So there's going to be 2 sets. There's going to be one at 12, and then there's going to be one at 6. There's going to be 2 purses. There's going to be 4 purple circles altogether, and they're going to be moving around the arena during the push-pull mechanic as well, during trail. So, lots of mechanics to keep up with here. So the group is going to be bouncing in between. We're also going to be going to each of the clock positions. So we're going to start at 12 on second floor. We're going to start at 12. We're going to be pushed to outer 12. We're going to move up the line a little bit. And then we're going to be pulled to like inner 12. And then we're going to move to 3. We're going to stay at inner 3. And then we're going to be pushed out to outer 3. And then we'll be pulled back into inner 3. And we're going to stay at the 3 position for most of phase 2. Phase 2 goes from about 65% to 29 to 28% depending on your DPS.
Oh.
What?
One other thing about floor 1 that I totally forgot about. There's one more mechanic. It's slightly minor. It killed me last pull. That Revan does. Yes, I totally forgot about it. So,
I was about to say.
So one other thing. Yeah. I'm tired. I'm sorry. So the other mechanic for tanks that's important is that Revan does the same mechanic from story mode, except he knocks you the hell to the boonies. It does not end. Like, the proper way to do it is to tank Revan against this pillar, get knocked into this pillar, which knocks the pillar down and saves you. And then you move on to the next pillar and so on and so forth. The way we do it nowadays is we use cheeses. There's several cheeses in different levels of success or difficulty, I should say. So if groups are progging and they're worried about being able to do the cheeses, you can totally still use the pillars. It just makes the positioning more awkward since you do have to rotate him around the room. Keeping him still makes everything neater for the heals, the DPS, the blade spawn positions, and people not tripping over trail. So as far as the cheeses go, there's one that all tanks have, and it is not the most, like, it takes a little practice to get down properly, but it is fairly reliable once you get it down, and that is the CC break. So basically, as his channel comes to the end, you just start spamming that CC break like your life depends on it, because it does. And for some reason, that keeps you in place and doesn't knock you back. So that's the least reliable, but the most universal one that tanks have. There's also one that PTs and Jugs have where they stand next to the pillar, but this is only if they're the tank that can open the fight, or that take it second, is they stand next to the pillar, they leap to Revan, and they do not move until they get knocked back. And for some reason that kind of screws with the positioning and the game thinks you're behind the pillar. I've seen it work. I have not tried it myself. I cannot attest to how well that works. Also, any utility that prevents knockbacks, movement impair, stun, etc., like dark stability for synths, works. So the first one I'll do is I'll pop dark stability toward the end of the cast, very end of the cast actually, because I also use the utility since we're overgeared and since we want to push him retaliatory grip, which will reflect overcharged saber, which he does right after. Heave, a couple other moves he does. So I'll pop it right at the end. He's not going to knock me back, and then I'm going to have some reflect damage going to him. The second knockback, I'm going to cheese with the Unbreakable Will CC break. And then if you need more, then that's when you start digging into pillars. I think hydraulics are for PTs, right, Jaden's?
Yep.
And then there's
a breaker.
Yeah, and then there's a utility for Jugs that does it as well.
Yes.
Right? Or Jugs SL.
Nope. Jugs have the leap. Kagi, what's that called? Augie.
The leap.
The
Force charge.
Yeah. The
stun,
keeps you from being
pushback.
stunned, pushback. It's in the masterful tier, or it's in the masterful tier. You get it in Vengeance. Can't remember. It's like Brawn.
Unstoppable?
Unstoppable. That's it. That's the word. Yes, Unstoppable.
Yeah, but that one needs to be coordinated with a jump in, right?
Correct.
Well, that's not gonna help them though,
And it's
'cause they
only
can't
like,
leap
I think it
into
only
it.
leaves like, I think it's only like 2 to 3 seconds.
So I think Jugs might be more SOL for
Jugs
this.
have to really practice on the leaping. If you're progging though, I would recommend
Yeah.
using the pillar, doing the mechanic correctly and using the pillar. So going
Or
back,
a tank that's reliable with it that can
Yeah.
pop it anytime.
yeah.
PTs. This is really a fight where PTs shine, by the way.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I mean,
So
I think
PT
the
tanks,
first
this
world
is
clear of
your
hard mode
fight.
Revan.
Okay.
I think the first world clear of Revan hard mode was in all mercenary or all bounty hunter group.
That was due to a flaw that they fixed though.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Matt was very upset about this, by the way. He like at the cantina, he was literally like, you don't understand how upsetting that was. Because apparently, like, he wasn't aware that there was that utility to extend hydraulics.
Yes.
So that's why aberrations spawn slower now. That they didn't fix it to make the fight easier. They fixed it so that PTs weren't able to cheese it. And
I
mercs.
mean, yeah, mercs and PTs just, I mean, hydraulics just broke this fight. But we're gonna go back to floor 2 since we still have floor 3 to go over. No, you're fine. That's absolutely fine. That's most of the mechanics, just the overarching mechanics for floor 2. There is a jumping puzzle, so after Revan phases
tanks for floor 2 still.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and we still have healers. We just talked about overarching mechanics.
Yeah.
Revan is a very, very long fight. Long fight to prog. So, and there's going to be a jumping puzzle, so hope you've honed your Mario skills for floors 2 and 3, because when Revan phases at 29% to phase 3, there's going to be a white circle that spawns. Everybody else is going to, so you're going to have a designated jumper. Or 3. Yeah, long and varied, at least, unlike Styrak, which is just long. That is correct. Styrak is just long. So the rest of the group is going to stay behind, and then your jumper or jumpies are going to jump into this white circle that spawns at the 12 o'clock position. There's going to be pillars, going to be blocks that come up through the middle here, and your jumper's job is to platform themselves up the makeshift stairs and reach the 3rd floor, because you cannot progress in the fight without doing that. In story mode, as you saw, there was the white circle. We all jumped. We all got phased up to phase 3. Yeah, does not just auto phase you up and phase to floor 3 like it does in story mode. Jumpies, yes,
Until somebody jumps up.
Yes.
And once somebody makes it up, it works like story mode.
Correct. So, but that's what you hear when we get to floor 3. You'll hear, I'm up, or I'm up, and then everybody else can jump into or walk into the white circle and get teleported up to floor 3. We haven't even covered floor 3 yet, but we're going to talk about heals and tanks for floor 2, starting with healers. And DPS, if you have any, so Kagi, Crane, and Kruby, my 3Ks, yikes, that's a terrible thing. If you guys have anything you would like to bring up, please do so, but I'm going to move over to the healers. Talk to me about healing phase 2, floor 2.
Phase 2 basically starts roughly the same way it does in the story. The only difference is, like, you've got a tank who's running Agony. You need to make sure that there's HOTS on that tank, that the HOTS are going to last throughout. That way, like, you don't have to run and get them, like, midway if they, like, sit in a puddle. Other than that, it's just getting used to the bullish pull mechanic and getting pushed and pulled to the right places to where you don't die to aberrations. Also being aware of, like, where the boss is so you don't yourself sit and cleave. The major obstacle to healers is group awareness, like raid awareness of where they are, where the boss is, where aberrations are, where the cleave is. Because if you have a group that loves to stand and cleave or likes to get knocked into aberrations, you're going to have a hard time.
There's also the blade mechanic that sword healers, merc healers, sword merc, sniper DPS can handle. Usually they will be assigned, so I'll have my merc DPS take the blade at the 3 o'clock position. There's going to be dual blades that spawn um, at the 3 o'clock position. So usually like a sniper, somebody with a very long knockback sniper or a merc can take that AoE, that 360 knockback, and take care of the blades. Wonder, is there anything you'd like to add for second floor healing?
Just heal and you'll be fine.
Really, and we're gonna let the tanks talk about it, but if the tanks are accidentally cleaving the group, that's going to be a lot of heals. I've been in a lot of groups where the cleave, there's just so much damage going out because you still have the heaves, you still have the AoE damage, you have people sitting in aberrations. So much damage is going out on floors 2 and 3. So heals really, nobody can slack off here in Revan. All right, so Elsa and Jaden's talked to me about tanking floor 2.
Well,
You can
with
go ahead
2
and talk,
PTs.
Asha.
I'm sorry?
You can go ahead and talk about.
Okay. Well, the nice thing about heaves is with 2 PTs, they're not going to be much of an issue because we should have rebounders for all of them. Or most of them at least. But the big thing for floor 2 especially is that the DPS stack right behind Revan and stay, probably basically keep watch over push pulls. Usually the tank is going to hold him where he's supposed to be. There is one area where the tank is going to have to go against the push pull mechanic to position him properly. I'll get into that in a minute. So the DPS kind of have to remember that they've just been pulled, and the next one is going to be a push, so they can't or no, I'm sorry, they've just been pushed, so the next one's going to be a pull, so they can't go back in while the tank runs around at aberration. So on floor 2, those purple circles like you saw in story mode, aberrations, are going to be moving. So basically the tanks get to do a little dance that keeps the DPS themselves and Revan outside of the moving aberrations without really, while still watching out for the push-pull, which is going to move us back and forth. So for the push ones, we want to be around here. The platforms are a little smaller, but basically you want to be cozied up to the center. For the push, you want to be around here. You don't have to be at the very edge, but the closer to the edge, the more wiggle room you have once you get punted. So what's going to happen is when Revan spawns, I'm just going to use where he is now because circle. So basically what's going to happen is the tank that's going to take Revan first, which is going to be Jaden's on second floor, is going to stand right here. And all the DPS need to stack where Vass is. So including the other tank. The other tank is a glorified DPS until they need to take trail. So everyone's going to stack here. Rebounders are going to go out. And Revan is basically going to get held right here until the first push, which is going to send us over here. And then Jaden's is going to start pulling him back over to take trail and move it way outside the group. So Revan's going to be about where I am here. At the same time, I am going to start moving the other way outside, just keeping him in range. And when I see trail, I'm going to taunt. Usually I'll force pull right before taunting or right after taunting. And I'll move to, if you can kind of see, you can't see. I'm trying to figure out an angle to actually show you. But basically these things that are on my screen right now, they're walls up top. Like little energy walls. You kind of want to be in that corner, like right where that wall starts, because that's where the blade's going to spawn, and that way the tank that takes Revan, while Revan is running over to you, where the DPS need to stay behind him, you can punt the blade after it gets to you, which is about when Revan gets to you. And again, you can't show your back to Revan. You pull him a little bit further back. You get pulled in. and that's about when I pop deflection, just because overcharged saber's coming out, so that's a little bit more damage you can push back at him. And there's going to be like a diamond, well, like there's going to be a shape on the ground, so I just go to the far point of that. I'll point it out when I'm up there, and that's a good spot to stand. That way the DPS are basically on the other point of that, and the aberrations are going to basically kiss your ankles before, right as you get pushed out, which is when you move really quickly. I'll force speed it out, because the DPS usually don't move very fast. They should move back a bit, to be honest, but they usually don't move very fast. Cause, huh?
Rude. I'm just teasing.
Because right after pushback, he's going to do an overcharged saber, and sometimes he'll do it without your position updating. I try to jump up, but there's a lot of quick movement you have to do here. Otherwise, he'll just overcharge saber right out the side, and everybody gets cleaved, and it's a painful mess. After that, you basically want to go to the very edge, because he's going to cast trail right after that, which is when the other tank taunts. And you just drop trail here, you'll get pulled in. You finish dropping trail, there's an aberration, so you're kind of going to be squeezed in, you'll see that. And then as soon as the 5th circle drops, you jump to Revan, because rebounders are going to get popped out, and you want to get that rebounder as well. At the same time, the other tank's going to grab Revan and bring him back to that
basically the 3 o'clock point on phase 2.
Basically, yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good.
So they're gonna hold him there. They're gonna hold him there until the pull. 1 second. Yeah, until the pull. Then they're going to base. Wait, do they move him back before or after the push? Before the push, right?
Typically, you want DPS to try and phase Revan by the time we have turned toward, like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, but I'm trying to remember the last one. It's been a while since we've had to do that far into the dance, and that's usually not my dance. But so basically, when I see it, I can point it out. But the tank holding him this way. After the push out, sorry for that little gap in my knowledge, but after the push out, they're going to have to do this thing where they walk around the aberration. So the DPS have to be careful, because the tank is going to move contrary to where the push-pull mechanic is, and if the DPS follow the tank and they don't get back in time, like if they're behind Revan and Revan is in the wrong spot, they will get screwed with the push-pull. That is the one place where the tank isn't able to keep Revan nicely placed for the DPS. So that is one area where the DPS have to watch out. However, in the current gearing, and especially with this DPS comp, I highly doubt we'll be able to see that. Unless you guys specifically want to hold off DPS to show it. But that is one caveat there, that there is an aberration that the tank has to go around and dance around, so that Revan isn't pulled into an aberration, so that DPS can keep hitting him, that the tank ends up and the DPS end up where the push-pull mechanic is correct. However, that aberration kind of prevents him from just staying there, so they have to kind of do a wiggle. And that is the main thing for tanks on floor 2, that dance and perfecting that dance, and the DPS following that dance, so that they are always behind Revan, always in the proper position for push-pull mechanics, always avoiding cleave, and stacked up close enough to get rebounders if there are PTs in the group.
So
because rebounders are going to bounce off Revan.
Yep.
Continue.
The heave. So while you're talking, while we're gonna talk about a little bit about being a melee, Kagi and Crane, talk to me a little tiny bit about being a melee and doing that push-pull dance here on floor 2 of Revan.
Push pulls for, I mean, it's imperative that you have your timers up and put up a voice to it. I think that makes it much easier.
And we're
to
talking
know
about
when push
Star
pulls are
Parse.
coming in.
Star Parse has a feature that has timers for Revan. Anyway,
Yes, on
continue.
Star Parse. And as a melee, I mean, it's really good at about 5 seconds is when it's called out. So that's pretty much, you have one ability left, and then you want to strife out to the for pull-ins. So if you hear pull, you need to get out, and then if you hear push, you just stay there and you just wait for that knock. Yeah, it's very important that when you get the what is it, the pulls, that you start strifing and start backing up so that you're able to get pulled in and not.
Anything you would like to add to that, Crane?
Not really. You know, phase 2 as a DPS that doesn't have a knockback and has hold the line is super easy. It's just, you know, follow the group. Just, you know, keep yourself out of trouble. It's super easy. Especially if you're starting out. If you basically just follow the group, you'll literally do everything you need to do.
Awesome. So we're going to talk a little bit about floor 3. Floor 3 is also going to be one of your hardest floors because everything that you've taken from floor 1 to floor 2, they're all going to repeat and culminate on floor 3. So you're going to have blades, you're going to have aberrations, we're going to have a new mechanic to aberrations, we're going to have push-pull, we're going to have Revan, we're going to have trail. So everything you have learned from floors 1 and 2, they come to a head on floor 3. So
Which is where the prog begins.
Prog really begins on floor 3. So I'm going to talk a
Yep.
little bit about overarching mechanics, then we'll do the same thing. We'll talk about tanks, healers, and then DPS. And then, finally, we'll get to pull. I'm excited. Everyone's all like, oh, thank God. So, overarching mechanics for floor 3. So once you've done the jumping puzzle, you've gotten to floor 3, everyone's up. Revan is going to be at the 6 o'clock marker where he is right now. But he's going to be doing a cast called Resonance, I think it's called. You have to break that cast. So you break that cast by DPSing him down. So you DPS him, the cast finally breaks. If the cast gets off, that's a one-shot to the group. Group completely just completely dies. You can burn raid buffs here. Adrenals, especially if you're progging, I would burn raid buffs as soon as the bubble breaks. So raid buffs, adrenals, everything you've got as soon as the bubble breaks, because from 29% to 9%, you want to try and get Revan phased as fast as possible because you don't really want to be dealing with Revan, with trail, with blades, with aberrations and push-pulls. So we want to try and get Revan pushed as fast as possible. At 9%, Revan will go into his little bubble, and then the Ancient Core is going to come up from the middle, and that's when the next set of prog actually starts. There's going to be a white circle or whitish blue circle that's going to appear around the Ancient Core. You can only DPS the core from inside that circle. If you're outside that circle, nothing. Nada. Nothing's going to happen. So, from the top. Yep. So you have to be inside that circle, but we're still going to be balancing push pulls and the new mechanic from aberrations, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. When you hear the put, you're going to have to. So this is where I said being a sniper is really, really bad. For doing Revan, because third floor you have to. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, one thing before you jump to aberrations. Yeah. That cast that you have to break on Revan from doing when you first get onto floor 3, that thing starts as soon as you clear floor 2.
Correct.
And the longer somebody takes doing that jumping puzzle, the less time you have. So
Yes.
it is very important that the person jumping and doing the puzzle is fairly fast at it and fairly practiced, because you can, like, if your group messes up and they have to do it 2 or 3 times, it's likely that you're going to have so little time that you're just not going to be able to break that cast. So it does not start when somebody goes up. It starts the moment
floor
he
2
goes
has
up.
been, yep, when he goes up, that cast is going to start, and I believe it's a 60-second cast. So you have 60 seconds to get from floor 2, do the jumping puzzle, and everybody get to floor 3 before he one-shots you. So good luck, should you choose to accept this or not. All right, so the newest mechanic to floor 3. So we're going to DPS the core down, balance the push pulls. as I've mentioned, or as Crane's mentioned, Hydro's really kind of breaks that fight. Hydro hold the line really, really easy. Entrench it and hunker down does work for the push pull, does not work for the aberrations, which I'm going to talk about. Yeah, ab start before the core drops down. So aberrations, we've seen them on floors 1. We're going to see them on floor 2. They have a new mechanic here on floor 3. So they're going to just spawn randomly. And this is where the clock mechanic that we were talking about earlier really comes into play. So they're going to spawn randomly. There's going to be 4 aberrations that spawn every time there's an ab spawn. And they're going to be at different points of the map. So you're going to have a designated caller. For us, it's going to be Jaden's. Jaden's is going to be our designated aberration caller. You're going to hear her call out some numbers. And you also have a new factor of inner and outer. So inner is going to be close to where the core or the beam is. Outer is going to be the farthest away. So we're all going to be positioned at 6 o'clock. So we're all going to be here at 6. Then you're going to hear 4 numbers being rattled off. For instance, you'll hear outer 3, 2, 6, and 10. Those are the aberrations that you need to look at in that order. So what that means is you need to stop DPSing, you need to stop healing, whatever you're doing, anything that targets yourself, another player, or an enemy, you cannot do. So you're going to stop what you're doing. You're going to turn your camera and your character to look at that aberration. And we're going to be balancing push-pulls at the same time. So you have to, so if in the event that an aberration is about to explode, you have to position yourself for the aberration and then for the push-pull. So as I said, so let's say we did inner 3, 2, 6, and 10. It's a really, really bad ab spawn, and I'm very sorry. So we're going to look at 3. We're going to look at 2. Jumping really helps here. It kind of resets the server to let the server know that, hey, no, that's fine. Go ahead. Hey, you've got this. Hello, kid. Hey, so jumping allows the server to acknowledge that your character has actually moved. So we looked at 3. We're going to look at 2. We're going to look at 6. That's going to be a very, very quick turnaround. Very quick. And then we're going to look at 10. And then pull in 5. And then we're going to get pulled in. So that aberrations kill people all the time on floor 3. All the time. You cannot... The hardest thing that I've known that people have a hard time with is stopping. DPS checks are negligible. There is a lot of damage that's going out. I think Tom and Wonder will talk a little bit about this, but like, it's more important that you survive the aberrations than it is to keep your numbers up, keep the core. I mean, yes, DPS is important because once you hit, like, as we were talking about in story mode, the stacks that the core puts on you reduces your health by 1% every time a stack is added. So when you get like at 85% and a heave comes through, you kind of just simultaneously just kind of explode. So, but aberrations and push pull, that is going to be your group killer on floor 3. So, Tom and Wonder, talk to me a little bit about floor 3. If anybody actually wants to.
I don't think Tom's here, so I'll do it.
I'm around, but you can start.
Okay, it's really all about just looking at the aberrations. Like, that's honestly all you do as a healer, and make sure you do push and pulls right. The damage is fairly negligible during that phase.
So, but things you cannot do during an aberration or anything that targets you, like anything that could turn your character away from the aberration will kill you. So you can't channel, innervate, healing trance. You can't do, medical probe or whatever, medical injection or whatever it is. No Culta waves, no progressive scan. Anything that might move your character away from the aberration will kill you. or most definitely could kill you. So that's something that you'll have to learn how to do. Jaden's and Elsa, talk to me a little bit about tanking floor 3. Yeah, no slow grenades, no
So,
nothing.
so floor 3 is the, as far as tanking goes, once you get to core phase, once you hold Revan off and get to core, honestly, tanks don't matter anymore. If a tank dies and a DPS dies, you res the DPS. The tank is lowest priority because we don't do as much damage as the DPS will to the core, and we can't heal the group. So healers and DPS get res before tanks on floor 3 for sure. Oh, also another note. Once you finish floor 2, everybody gets rezzed. I'm not sure if you mentioned that.
I did not, thank you.
So if you have a DPS or 2 down or a healer down or even a tank down on floor 2, but you're about to push the boss, or you're able to still push the boss, taunting DPS, whatever, it's worth it to try and push it out, either for practice or because everyone will get rezzed as soon as somebody makes it up to the top. Anyway, so that's just a little aside. So what's going to happen on floor 3 is once the shield drops from Revan, he's still going to do a trail, which is something that's going to happen on all 3 floors. The tank that takes the first trail is going to knock off the 9 o'clock blade again. That's going to be me, and then take the trail, and then come back into group as quickly as possible to watch for aberrations, because trail and aberrations, well, aberrations spawn right after trail gets put on you, or right before. I think it's right after. So the callouts for aberrations are going to start while you still have trail. The other tank is going to have the fun job of holding Revan, not letting him see their back while watching out for aberrations and while being pushed out. So ideally you want to push Revan as soon as possible, just to make it a lot easier for everybody so that there's no Revan to deal with while you're dealing with aberrations, push pull, and so you can start hitting the core. So preferably you want to do this before second trail goes out. I have seen second trail go out on third floor. It's not fun. It's still doable. Once Revan is pushed, though, the tanks become DPS. Everybody needs to hit that core as fast and as hard as possible. Another thing Reflect works on is the core damage, so deflection that, things like that. Otherwise, you're a DPS once Revan goes down. You have to be careful of backstab. That's where Shroud or, I believe, Saber Ward on Jugs, right?
Yes.
Jaden? And I don't know what PTs actually have for that.
I think it's just Jaden's, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's explosive fuel and or shield, right?
Jaden?
For
when you get pulled and you have to deal with backstab. Because it's Shroud, Saber
I have
Ward.
to pray to not get global.
You have to pray to not get global, okay.
So yeah, so the other 2 tanks have a bit of a preventative measure, let's say. I use up my Shroud to tank trail far away from the group, the first one, because Shroud also works against trail, by the way. But yeah, once we push Revan, that's it. As far as tanking goes in this type. Yeah, basically floor 1 is a heal and tank fight. Floor 2 is a tanking dance with DPS, and floor 3 is DPS and heals. Everybody gets a couple floors to shine on, and one floor that is a bit easier on them. So yeah, once you're done, like, if you suck at aberrations, learn to tank, because you're the least required for that. So if you're dead the whole time, people don't care. If you're a DPS that's dead the whole time, the core hurts more and more.
Right.
Heals same, but like I said, floor 3 is the shortest as far as tanking goes because once Revan's done, and there's not really anything to tank. It's just the core, which doesn't move or do anything that you can actually mitigate in any way, as far as like keeping damage off the group.
Right.
Beyond, throwing deflection down and things like that.
Right.
So taunt heals, taunt protection, things like those. Those are utilities that can help the group. So yeah.
Yeah. So unless any of my other DPS or any of my other experts would like to add anything else, I think we're gonna actually finally pull. I think that we have covered everything that we can without showing the fight. So unless any of my experts unless any of my experts have anything else to say, we're gonna go ahead and finally pull this bad boy. Time to put our money where our mouth is, right?
One thing, can one of the melee DPS talk about the core shuffle for melee?
Is this it? Are we pulling?
Yes, you're pulling.
Oh shit.
Crane, do you want to talk a little bit about doing the melee shuffle on core?
For core?
Yeah, on.
You mean moving slightly to the left or the right, depending on whether there's a
strafing
behind you?
Strafing, push pull. Yeah, just talk about being a little bit of a melee. It pretty much goes for everybody is a melee DPS on core. Period. Doesn't matter what class you are.
You can do that if you are ranged too, even during channels.
Yep. So, all right. Let's finally get some action here. It's a long explanation. It's a long fight. Lots of prog. Lots to keep in mind. So it's a hard fight. It's got a lot of work. Jaden's you ready, hun?
Yeah, I'm activating my cannons.
Okay, when we're ready, check for the pull. All right.
All right, pulling in 3, 2,
My
1.
Revanites understand what you do not.
My keybinds are wrong.
Oh no!
Don't say that.
Things you don't want to heal for your tank for 500 outs?
Blade.
No, you.
Malevolent Force Spawn is. I'm gonna go ahead and take that.
Got him. And there's that clear.
Clear.
Jaden, so you'll be calling abs and push pulls, correct?
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Force Spawn?
I am with you. Be strong.
It's clear.
So as you can see, as you can hear as well, the melee DPS are calling out for when they're clear.
It's time.
And we're pushing. There are the circles for the healer cleanses. So he's just going to jump in. He's going to cleanse. The circle is going to be taken up, and
I trust you'll make do.
we're good to go.
Interesting fact, when HK says he's engaged in over 23 more extensive or extenuating like conflicts. Yeah, all 23 of those were with us, like, because that's how many times he's reappeared in the game.
All right, here are the droids.
And here's kill shot.
Everybody's exploded. Here's the shield on HK, so we're all just going to jump into the shield. Grenades. I'm going to run out as a ranged. I'm going to cleanse myself, and then I'm going to jump back in.
I have engaged in a minimum of 23 more strenuous conflicts.
And that conal is thrown randomly on people.
Yeah, it's a random target for pseudo-random violence. I mean, name fits, I guess. Hey, we didn't even get a second round. Nice. All right, so we have officially finished first floor. Now, if you're a sentinel or a marauder, take predation off of your bars.
That use it right now.
I mean, if you would like to know you.
Oh my god. That's like the third time I went to jump and I just completely dropped.
Do you need a pull?
No. I'm okay. I'm okay.
Okay, so here are the pylons that we were talking a little bit about earlier. They're the machine foci. So we're gonna just get rid of them. So the rest of us are gonna stack. We're all gonna get ready. All right. So everyone's going to be behind Revan. Rebounders, please. So we're all gonna be stacked behind Revan. There's the heave. Here comes the.
Oh, I was just out. I dropped Fred because you said rebound.
I still
It's okay.
got him.
I'm jumping off because
No, it's okay. We still got this.
No, why are we jumping off?
I was close. For a second, it looked like you didn't, so I thought it was the other PT that popped them.
Yeah, let's have Crane pop rebounders on the first one. Got a blade in the group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Heave.
Here's the push.
And there we go. So that's away from the group. Trail.
Groovy, can you get these blades, please? Never mind. The ones that's, if we get them, that spawn on the side.
Yeah, like, what the hell are you talking about? No blades?
Here would be where the tank has to go in. Go
Okay.
around.
All right.
And then
so,
we'd have to go quickly out here so that we don't get pulled in.
Yeah. All right. So, jumping puzzle. So as we talked a little bit about earlier, I hope you polished your Mario skills recently. All of these platforms are going to rise to the middle. Good luck!
And
Those who are
watch Coggy in the ops frame. He's going to get rezzed as soon as someone's up top.
So they're jumping, they're jumping, they're jumping. Very, very important for floor 3. If you're not an aberration caller or a push-pull caller, clear your comms. Period.
up.
Up. All right, so we're going to jump up. Save rates, raid wides for core.
No, I won't be denied. I will never give in.
Clear comms from here on out.
I don't have.
3,
Can't
12.
call pulse.
9, 2, 3, 12, 9, 2.
Phase.
Push happening.
Push.
Okay.
Vengeance will be mine.
Just for 6.
Adjust.
Push 6. Spawn 5. 12. 6. 9 and 4. So 12.
The sacrifice.
6. 9. 4.
Get a DPS up.
We don't have res.
Okay. Yes, we do.
Pull.
We don't. Says a little bit of what happens if you don't look at the aberration when it explodes.
Think of how many lives the Emperor will consume.
10. 2. 4. And 7. So 10. 4 and 5. 2. 4. 7.
only to destroy
Res a DPS
all
as soon
of
as you can.
existence?
Creevy, I want
Pulling
you on
5.
Pulling 5. Creevy, you're on res duty.
8, 4, 3, 12. So 8, 4, 3, 12.
– 15 seconds on res.
Yeah, tell me when it's up.
I can't believe you!
Potion 5.
Madness that you would stop me from saving the galaxy!
Up in 5.
Jeez. Alright, Wonder.
10, 3, 4, 2, 10, 3, 4, 2. Pull and 5 and even 5.
%.
You got this, Jaden.
You guys got this. Nicely done. And that is hard mode.
The
Revan.
what was it? The push call when it was a pull kind of fucked me up.
It's okay.
But
So, lots of mechanics, lots of things to be aware of. Very easy to mess up. Very easy to. I mean, when we were doing our practice run not terribly long ago, I think we. It took us, I think, an hour and a half maybe, because we were getting adjusted to call outs and everything. But I mean, we've all cleared Revan multiple times. But anyway, that is hard mode Revan. That is hard mode Temple of Sacrifice. While the dead arise, I'm going to open up my chat for any questions to the experts. Really, really well done. My bounty hunters, really well done bounty hunters. Okay, can we just say Hydro breaks that fight? Can we just be honest here? Yeah. Hydro breaks that fight.
Do Hydras still actually work against aberrations, or did they take
Not
that out
against
entirely?
aberrations, but it does work against push pull. So it completely negates the push pull.
Yeah, because apparently they used to work against aberrations.
Yes.
That was what was breaking
At the
everything.
very beginning, it used to work against aberrations.
basically just pop it whenever like there's a pull and you'll never die.
Yep. Because push is easy. You can be pushed, but it's the pull that really, because that pulls you away from the core. But yay, conquest. And I don't think I had the mission. Oh well. So unless chat in any of our 3 chats, so that's Coggy's stream, it's Elsa's stream, and it is my stream. If anyone has any questions for any of our experts, we have been live for 3.5 hours. It is a long episode, so I also just want to thank our experts.
It's a long fight.
It's a very, very long fight. Lots of prog. I've spent weeks.
Complex anyway.
Very complex. I've spent probably, I would say months actually, on Revan, just progging the fight, regressing and progressing all at the same time. So, I'm going to open the floor up to chat. I do also just want to say thank you, everyone, for coming. This is our last official episode before 6.0 drops in a week. A week from tomorrow is when Onslaught will drop. We will cover Gods of the Machine and Duxon after 6.0. I will announce when Gods of the Machine will be broadcasted. But if nobody has any questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode tonight. Once again, Jaden's, Kagi, Crane, Elsa, Creevy, Tom, Wonder, really appreciate everything that you have done for this team. Looking forward to seeing you guys in 6.0. Thank you for carrying my Sork butt. I appreciate it. that ab call. I couldn't turn my camera in time to, and I got knocked off because of the pull. So
Question.
Answer.
Coggy and Bass, do you guys save your streams?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thanks, because somebody was saying they wish they could have seen the other point of views
So
streams.
Elsa,
So
what
they
I would
will
love,
be.
yeah, Elsa, what I would love for you to do is send me your VOD. I'm gonna edit it, and I'm gonna add it to the YouTube channel. So
Sure. Just
oh
you're
yeah,
gonna have to tell me how to
I'll
do
talk
that
to you.
exactly.
Yeah, I'll talk to you
So
how to do
yeah,
that.
yeah. But I saved the stream, so it's gonna.
Awesome. So these will be up on YouTube this week, so we'll have the DPS perspective and the other mechanic perspective up on YouTube this week. And then I'll talk to Elsa about getting the tank perspective up. But other than that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Entering Operations. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to toss you guys... I'm going to toss you guys over to Kagi. So, Kagi, you streaming for a little bit longer, hun?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep going for another. I'm gonna do a PvP match or two.
Okay.
See how it goes.
Okay.
All
I'll drop to you as well.
All right.
Then.
I will be right back.
Are you both done? You can.
Experts
Yeah, I
don't
think
leave.
so.
Experts don't leave. I will be right
Okay.
back. All right, guys. We're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to go raid Kagi. We're going to go say thank you. Send nudes. I mean, I know Zorid would love to send some for you. I'm sorry, Thomas. I'll be seeing you tomorrow, though. I have a blood donation that I have to do. I have to go to early tomorrow morning, so I have to end early. But chat, just wanted to say thank you very much for hanging out with us this evening. Thank you for participating in Entering Operations. We will see you in 6-0 for Onslaught. Gods of the Machine, stay tuned. I may or may not have something special planned for Gods of the Machine, just as an FYI. So stay tuned. But anyway, we're going to go raid Kagi. We're going to raid in 3, 2, 1. Good night.